Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Races Driving League for Season 16 in Round 3 of the Championship, the Australian Grand Prix, here from a sodden Albert Park circuit. I'm your host, Zach RC. Alongside me once again for the first time in Season 16, we welcome back Season 11 Drivers' Champion and reigning Monaco winner, Touch Pope. See, I've beat you to it before you can start. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, mate. It's good to be back in here. Hopefully be able to finish a race this season. Obviously in the commentary booth this time over. But no, it's exciting times to see the first bit of rain here in this season. And it's probably a place we expected it most. Australia, obviously, very, very dodgy in terms of the weather. You never know what we're going to get here. But I think when you're in the Middle East, you ain't going to get that much rain.
Not as much rain by comparison, not at all. But we should be in for a very exciting qualifying session here under the rain, and obviously an exciting race as well, because this Grand Prix always serves up drama. It has done in the last few seasons, and of course, thinking back to last season, it was the first race we saw the first little glimpse of our runner-up in the championship last season, Websy, who managed to come a podium if I remember correctly. But he was in the threat to try and win the race. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember too much of Australia last season. Personally, it's not one of my favourite tracks, but I know a lot of the drivers do love this track. And it can provide very, very close racing, especially with a new format, which we'll see here with Imrie. We'll be going through. Normally, I preferred it when there was a chicane, but there's now a long sweeping corner through 8. And yeah, it's a crazy sector now. So hopefully, if it's dry in the race, we'll see a DRS zone there and some moves hopefully going into the chicane here.
Definitely, of course. The fourth race in the RDL that's been run with this layout. The first being back, obviously, on F1 22. The only Australia race on this format, on this layout, which we haven't seen because I wasn't here for that point. That was the brief period when I was away from the league because of crossplay, or the lack of rather. Anyway, Imrie's come around the last corners, Pope. Just for our little returning task for you, do you want to take us on a lap of Albert Park?
Oh, of course I was. Going through turn 14 here, obviously very hard to get the exit right in these wet conditions, but you want to try and be full throttle through there as quickly as possible. Crossing the line now, this is where the lap actually starts. Going into turn 1, you need to nail this corner. Try and take as much curve as possible, get much curve on the exit of 2. That's a very, very important set of tracks. It basically sorts out your run going into turn 3, obviously in a dry DRS zone. Turn 3 has been widened from the previous layout. Obviously, we're pretty accustomed to this layout now. Turn 4, one of the hardest corners on the track to get right. The weight transferring is very, very difficult. Turn 5, very easy to invalidate on the outside of turn 5. And then going into 6, that's the end of sector 1. This is also has changed quite a lot. You can floor it pretty much through there in dry conditions. Obviously, in the wet, these drivers are going to build up their time, going to get faster each go. It's something to keep in mind. Getting some nice slipstream here from the Aston Martin ahead is Imrie, as Imrie takes that curve beautifully there for the chicane. Slow and steady, wins the race in wet conditions. That's 9 and 10 sorted. Another DRS zone, a lot of DRS, 4 DRS zones here at Australia. I think one of the most on the entire calendar. I think the most on the entire calendar. Another reprofile sector on track is turn 11. Very, very weird on the exit curve. I still don't know how to really hit it right. Turn 12 and turn 13. Unchanged, apart from a little bit of widening on turn 13. And here we are already back to turn 14. Bit squirrely there on the exit, trying to get as much traction in these wet conditions. But a very, very good lap time there by Imrie, who is doing a lot better than has been in the previous season, a lot more consistent, though only picking up 1 point, but 1 point into races with our new point system is very, very good. And long may it continue for Imrie.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, in terms of raw pace, it's been a fantastic start to the season for both Ferrari drivers. But of course, the results speak for themselves in two very different cases. Of course, Imrie's teammate Nicholas comes into this one with a 7-point lead in the Drivers' Championship, 20 points to his name after winning the first 2 rounds, both in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, after some very interesting late race action. PJ Keller goes second place there, 1 minute 27.3 to 10th off Imrie. I think I saw a spin there from one of the AlphaTauris. That was, that was Che who went around at the final corner there. Giuliano was on his outlap, but it will lose a lot of momentum for the start of his first time to run here. But of course, these wet conditions, Pope, could potentially shake up the order for the Grand Prix itself. And should they continue into the race, we probably get a bit less in terms of high-speed action. But of course, driving in the wet can always be a spectacle with these cars and on a circuit like this.
Yeah, weather driving is very, very hard to master. There was a good point on 2021 where I was I generally believe I was unbeatable in wet conditions. I just loved it, but not so much anymore. I do struggle with my right foot and my traction, especially after not picking up the game that often. Cott, who really needs to get into the speed of things, obviously has 4 points to his name, so he's in a very good position, but we know what Cott can do. Cott was such a force at the end of last season, so I'm very excited to see what Cott can do here, and maybe this shaking up of the wet qualifying can give Cott that little bit of momentum.
Potentially, yeah. Well, it'll take a lot to shake the Ferraris in particular, who have been the dominant force so far, alongside Williams. No Grimio in the lobby tonight. We had Landlord join a couple minutes ago during Imri's first lap we were going through with Pope on screen. But I'm not sure if Grimio will join later on. I think he won this race. He's the reigning winner from this race. He beat Sniper Hunter to the checker flag last time around, and Webb's coming home in a very impressive third place. As Nicholas, your championship leader, puts the car on provisional pole, 1 minute 27.9. Pope, it's very close so far. Slazenger goes even faster than that. The first 1:26 today for the Red Bull team. Fantastic.
Yeah, Red Bull, obviously third in the championship right now.
That's great as well.
And 1 and 2, yeah, in the track. So Red Bull, known to have a lot higher downforce cars through pretty much my entire time of watching F1, and normally do perform quite well in the wet weather. So let's see if these two can keep it up. But it's not really that important to look at the timings right now. It's the last 5 minutes, because the way that the wet weather works is you're clearing so much water, the track might even get dry towards the end of the session. Who knows, but those times will drop, no doubt.
Definitely, you never know. But one driver in particular, or two drivers, I think, will be looking to improve their positions after recent weeks. The two McLarens, of course, the reigning champion C110P fan, and of course his teammate BJ in the other papaya machine. Not a fantastic start. Fourth in the Constructors' Championship right now, which is still respectable. Both cars have scored points. BJ's taken 5 and Fan has taken 3. And of course, Fan did say to us towards the end of last season that winning the championship wasn't as impressive in his mind as perhaps some of the victories earlier in season 15, just down to the fact that a number of our contenders lost pace over the course of the season, and either fell away or just dropped off, allowing him to sort of coast to the championship, despite Webbsy closing on him. But I don't believe him, but I think I'm starting to believe he might be right now, if I'm honest.
It's a very weird one. I think season 15 was quite an anomaly, mainly because we had a large point where Grumio wasn't here, so we didn't see the pace of that, and obviously losing Sniper towards the end of the season as well. I think in a way, yeah, we can understand where fans coming from. It shouldn't take anything away though, because it was a fantastic challenge for a title, and if you win a title, then that speaks for itself. Like, you win a title because of your consistency, so always take pride in that. But in terms of raw pace, I think Fan was right. Yeah, this new breed of drivers that we kind of had since the end of season 15 are quite fast.
Definitely, yeah, because they're proving it right now. Landlord able to keep pace with them. He's sitting there in P3. Grovey on pole right now. Slazenger still in second place. The Red Bulls, as we say, on top right now. Nicholas down in 4th. Cot 5, they're down to 5th place. And Imri sitting in 6th. With the two Alpines behind them. P7, P8 for PJ and Ethan. Lucky 9th and Fan rounds off your top 10. We're still waiting on Courtney Godwin's set time. Still waiting on Webbsy, on Che, and on JB as well. Those two both going through here. But I saw Che get a bit loose there on the exit of, I think it was turn 10. Turn 11. I see JB coming through behind as well. So we'll see how these two get on in terms of finishing their lap times. It doesn't look it's a fantastic start. We'll see for Che here, because I could be horribly wrong when he comes over the line. Puts himself P4. That's respectable from Che, and JB goes P8. Solid laps on both cars. So I stand hugely corrected.
Yeah, great thing there for JB. P8, obviously you'd get points now for being in P8. P8 only, obviously no more points for 9 and 10. So Alpines, who are literally on the border, would love to get a point to their name, constructors-wise and drivers-wise. So keep an eye out for them during the race. But we know how much JB loves Australia, so expect him to do well, as he does get pipped just about, as these drivers are now really setting these laps in. As BJ retires, crashed exit of turn 7. Obviously not great there, but caught smashing the pace there by another 4 attempts from his previous time, maybe even 5 attempts. So you can see the track's really amping up here.
And you see these guys going for longer runs on their tyres as well. You see Kotzby on his intermediate tyres for 4 laps will make before coming back into the pit. So it must be. So he's definitely doing a higher fuel run as well, which could be an ominous sign for the rest of the pack. So have to keep an eye out for that over the course of the Grand Prix. Because obviously, I'd assume that a lot of these drivers will be lowering the fuel compared to what the game puts in at the start. Because the game always puts you like a lap and a half or so over, from my experience. So you've always got to try and turn that down a bit to try and bring the race time overall down.
Yeah, I think obviously looking at what Cott's doing and being on high fuel runs, this is typical how you do a wet qualifying session. Is you put a lot of fuel in, you keep burning through those tyres. The degradation on the intermediates is far less than any of the slick tyres, so you're not losing that much time, and quite frankly, you're just gaining time by losing fuel. And the tyres warming up a little bit as well. The tyres do need warming up, especially on a track like this where the temperature will probably still be like pretty low. They still need to be very warm tyres. I think 70 degrees, maybe even 80 degrees now for these tyres. So when you're doing that in wet conditions, you need a lot of runs and a lot of turning. So it's something to keep in mind. I've seen Landlord taking P1, so showing that the old wise drivers at RDL can still compete with the newbies. It's very nice to see that.
Yep, triple champion Landlord then, yep, on provisional pole for the minutes, but still 6 minutes to go in the session, so plenty of time for that to change. As you said, Pope, but keep an eye on the last 5 minutes of each session, because that's when it restarts to turn over the course of a qualifying run. Of course, but the track's not getting any dry here. As Dan looks to have retired in the pit. No, sorry, he may have crashed on the main straight here. I'm not sure. I have to keep an eye on Nicholas as he comes down the final corner. I believe he has. He has. Oh, and that's in the middle of the circuit. Not a good place to be at all. And he's despawned only just for Nicholas to come through and put it on pole again. I'll tell you what, that was very brave from Nicholas, because what was happening, I'm not sure if you saw it, Pope, but if it had taken a second longer for Dan to despawn, at least on my screen, then Nicholas would have driven into him, and that would have been qualifying over entirely. But he kept his head down, put his foot on the gas, and now he's back on provisional pole. Yeah,
thankful there for Nicholas, who has been absolutely on fire. I'm thankful the game for once actually helping out a driver rather than screwing him over.
Is that something you're trying to say, Pope?
Everyone does what I think is on the game. I think the game is it needs a lot of work done, but so be it. So be it. Nothing will change with that. It's needed a lot of work for a while. But anywho, having a look, obviously, at these Red Bulls 4th and 5th, they're still on their first lap time set. So I think if you're going to look at some of the biggest improvements, it'll probably be those two. So keep an eye out for them. I'm going to probably pick for Grovey. I think she'll take a pole position here today.
I'll go to the other side of the garage. If Starsky gets back out there, I reckon I could see him set a pole time. But you never know. It could be any of these guys. If I'm completely honest, I think back to a couple of seasons ago when we were watching Websy and then PJ taking pole position in China before Grumio just came and wiped the floor with them. But the shock we went through in that moment, just seeing both cars, which normally weren't up there in the qualifying, but that time nearly taking it, that was a sight to behold. I'm not sure if you remember that, Pope.
I do remember that. I feel like it's a standard for any wet race. We always go back to that China qualifying session. I think it was a fantastic qualifying session. It was really, really enjoyable. But I think one person that we can say will not be getting pole is Courtney Goblin, who is still in the pits, as per usual. Hopefully, we see him come out of the pits and maybe set a pole time. You never know.
Well, I wish I hadn't brought you back in now, because you're nicking my jokes again. This can't slide. There'll be words.
I mean, you nicked my Monaco line, so
yeah, because you just say it at like whenever during the race, and I don't see it coming, and it just winds me up.
Well, yeah, that's the plan. You never know. They might make an appearance later on.
Well, you don't make an appearance in Monaco. This time I guarantee you. I'm not allowing you to do it.
Yeah, I don't think I will be.
Oh really? You're gonna sit in the comments box with me and actually commentate with this one for Monaco?
I might be on holiday or something.
Oh, okay, fair play. Okay, yeah, fair play then. Well, we'll discuss this a bit later. I saw Haskell off into the grass there. That Courtney comes on the racetrack.
Oh, he's heard me.
He must have
heard me in this commentary booth. Courtney, I'm expecting now pole position lap time. The time to beat is 1:26.595 set by the championship leader Nicholas. So will Courtney Goblin be able to do that? I hope and pray he does.
I have to keep an eye out here as we come through. I'll keep an eye on Grovey here. She comes to the last corner, 7/10 down in the second sector. I think she'll be banking on this next lap being her being the one for her here. She comes over the line to start what being another qualifying effort. 1.5 seconds down once she crosses the line on her previous run. I'm seeing Fox Racing on towards the line. No, that is the Williams of Landlord, I think. Yes, it is. And so 1 minute 26.699 was his previous effort. He's got to improve by just over a tenth, and he'll stick it back on pole. But it could be anyone here. I see Cott is was a couple of tenths up, but skidded massively coming out of turn 10, so that potentially may have done him in a bit. I have to keep an eye out here, because the car is all over the shop here. The rear end is completely out of place there, if I'm honest. You see him there skidding around the last corner.
In through 14, yeah. It's a very weird line going into 13. That's something I have to pay attention on the next lap, because it was very, very fast to turn 13, but that might have hindered the exit on turn 14. Have a look at Grovey. She is
invalidated.
3.5 tenths down, and invalidated no matter what. So one more lap for Grovey though, so no need to stress about it. But everyone will be going on to their final laps pretty much next time around, maybe one more after that. I do forget we've changed the layout and the time's been knocked by 10 seconds. It does still throw me.
10 seconds, you sure? I don't even know.
It's probably about that, yeah.
From what I remember, the times was used to be like 129s, like at that.
Oh, I remember 32s.
Also, this is wet, so it's like. So it's much different, yeah. These were like dry times back in the day, long time ago. Anyway, no more reminiscing about a very enjoyable past in Formula 1. Courtney Goblin 30.8 in his first sector. Pope, we got his eye on him.
Of course. Courtney Goblin will be pole position by the end of this lap. I have no doubts. 49.7, very, very conservative here by Courtney. Obviously, want to make sure just get a lap time on the board. Could easily beat Dan and BJ. BJ really not going to be happy with that qualifying effort. Dan probably in the last two, maybe the last three. So will be a lot of work there on a track that is notoriously quite hard to overtake, even with the 4 DRS zones. Oh, Cott's in the wall. Straight.
Main straight, Cott in the wall. Yes. Oh,
and is taking pole.
I mean, Imrie just gave him a tap on the way past. And that's a 5-place square penalty for Cott. So Imrie's tapped him on the way through, and that's given Cott a penalty. And that's another example of this game being this game. So, you know, that's fantastic. And I think that's the second time in a while it's happened to Cott. So, unfortunately, that'll have him down as that'll have him as P10 as it stands right now. Grovey 3 tenths up. We could see her perhaps moving up in perhaps onto the front row. She can get another 10th off this last corner. We'll keep an eye. The checkered flag getting ready to fall to mark the end of this qualifying session. JB, I'm being told, was 4 tenths up, and he's unfortunately not improved. Going towards the line, goes P2. Not quite enough for pole this time around, but Landlord coming in behind. Can he do anything to improve? He doesn't. Stays P4. Fans up to P5 now. Let's keep an eye on him. Cott's got no wing, so at the end of his qualifying run. Imrie is up in a wall there, letting someone through. His lap's invalidated. P7 will be his best hope. Che has retired it. I think he's just stuffed it into a wall, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I believe so. Maybe a missed braking zone, but
Shane P9.
As weirdly as I think our pole position has been guaranteed. It's only Fan who can challenge and is down on their previous lap time. So I'm going to say it now. I think Slazenger has got pole position as he retires in the pits. A sign full of confidence. 1-2 here, it looks like, for Red Bull Racing. Fantastic.
Fan goes P4 there. Yep, good stuff for Red Bull. Let's keep an eye on them in the race. Websy goes 3 tenths up. That could put him back into the top 10 if he can continue on in this final sector. Imre's retired from the session. I think he may have just he's parked the car over at the side of the racetrack. I think Shane's goodbye without any issues there. I do believe
he hit a wall.
Oh, did he? I can't see it.
Bit of a shame there. And obviously, Websy is going to be pretty much rounded off. Can the person who came runner-up come second? Oh, it's P7.
It's a lot harder than I thought. He improved on a good 3 more tenths in that last sector. But that'll do it then. Slazenger on pole. Grovey will be alongside. They run to the first corner. Red Bulls take the front row.
Fantastic air by Red Bull. And something I will pay attention to is I think Nicholas might have messed up the timings. Just a little. When I saw Nicholas going on to that final lap, 100% ERS. Now, more than likely, he wouldn't have 100% ERS on the end of a flying lap. So maybe there is time in Nicholas's lap. So keep an eye on Nicholas trying to battle with these 2 Red Bulls. But we've seen, as I always say, how good the McLaren pair of Fan and BJ are at working together. Can we see the Red Bulls do the same?
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, they've been very good in the first couple of races, but just need that extra boost to try and push them up the championship to fight Williams and Ferrari. But it's Red Bull on the front row. Slazenger on pole, Grovey will start second, Nicholas in third, Pham fourth, Landor takes your last spot in the top 5, Cott takes P6 but will start P11 thanks to that grid penalty, Websy 7th, PJ 8th, Imri 9th, and Shane rounds at your top 10. So that's your top half of the starting order. We'll be back with you in a few minutes' time for the start of the Australian Grand Prix, round 3 of the championship. We'll see you then. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Australian Grand Prix, and the rain has not let up over the course of the few minutes between qualifying and the race, but it still should be an exciting one. Of course, I've got Pope alongside me in the comms box once again, making his first appearance of season 16 in the commentary booth. But Pope, of course, not a fantastic first 2 races for you. I think it's probably better we have you back here, if I'm honest.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I do like being in the commentary booth. Obviously, I have a love for racing, but it's nice and warm in here, and I would not like to be in that car while the rain is hitting the helmet. It's a very daunting thing, especially going into turn 1, and a very treacherous turn 1 here in Australia.
Definitely a turn 1 that's difficult to take in the dry, let alone in the wet when you've got a bunch of different cars around you. Of course, a lot of cars with good pace. Of course, the Drivers' Championship race is a bit stretched out so far as it stands right now. Of course, in the race of the Drivers' Championship, Nicholas is away with the early lead, 7 points over Grumio, 8 over Landlord, with the first 2 race wins of the season. And in terms of constructors, Williams show the way then. Grumio and Landlord then with obviously the most points collective from the first race, 25 points to their name. Ferrari in second on 21, and Red Bull in third on 15, 10 points back, but that could change given how qualifying went for those 2 cars.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to see where the Constructors' Championship ends off here in this season. I think we were talking about it, how good it would have been in the team draw review. I think it's shaping up to be like that. Obviously, the person who's leading the Drivers' Championship is not leading the Constructors' Championship, so that's always exciting to see how the teams will work together.
We're going straight into it? We are. Okay, right. For some reason, there's no formation lap. We're underway. That was remarkably quick. I did not expect that to happen. Right, I thought there'd be a formation lap, but we're underway here in Australia. Slazenger leads him down towards that first corner. Grovey's got Nicholas side by side with her for second place. The Red Bull remains in front as they go through the opening couple of corners here. Everyone's kept it nice and clean. A bit of the car shuffle back further in the pack, but the leaders have got away nice and easy here. Slazenger's had the perfect start. He's pulled away to the early advantage. Grovey in second and Nicholas in third there.
Yeah, a great start by the Red Bulls. Exactly what they would want.
Oh, yellow flag. Crash in the back.
Yellow flag in second 1.
Someone's lost a bit of wing.
A big collision, that, yeah. It's not
oh,
good at all. I'm
around
not
goes
too
JB.
sure who it is. A JB, or someone who absolutely adores this track as well. Struggling to keep that car straight, and will do now because those tyres will be screaming hot. So we'll have to take it easy for the next few corners. A big shame there for JB and the Aston Martin team, who are now P15 and 17.
Nicholas, the outside of Grovey, has made the way through the chicane for the first time. These two going side by side. One of them's got to give. Grovey on the outside will not give in. She goes charging back through and looks to try and reclaim P2 as Slazenger pulls away to a 1.3 second advantage. The championship leader on the inside of the circuit as they make the way through turn number 11. Nicholas almost loses the car on exit. Grovey stays in front. That was a very tight opening lap battle. And Landor behind them now in P4, looking to try and pick up anything he could gain. Fan, awful start for the reigning champion. He's down there 6 places in P10. No points for that fan. You got to get 2 more spots to get back up there. But Cott and Websy are going side by side for the last one. Slazenger just set the fastest lap. Che into the pits, Fan into the pits. I imagine those two got damage from the first caution back in turn number 3. I'm saying caution. That's NASCAR. Okay. Right, got my head back in the game now with the right sport. We're back on the way for lap 2. Let's keep our eye here, Pope, on this race for second place because Nicholas, he nearly had Grovey on the first lap. I can guarantee you he'll want to try and get it back.
Oh, 100%, but this is exactly what Red Bull needs to do. They've already got a 2-second gap there to Slazenger. Slazenger needs to pull away, use as much ERS as possible. One thing I've noticed is Grovey's ERS usage is very similar to Nicholas's. That yellow flag is for
Connie Goblin around.
Connie Goblin around. Yeah, these drivers are really struggling in these wet conditions. The first wet conditions of season 16, so we'll see what they can do. But yeah, Nicholas has got a fantastic straight line speed set up. So in the corners, Grovey will be faster, but on those straights, and there's a lot of them here at Australia, Nicholas will be making a charge.
He's all over Grovey here, waiting for an opportunity to make that move. So look to the outside of the racetrack this time on the high side as they make their way through. Might try and switch back, but no, not enough power on the exit to get on the throttle. And he remains in P3, stuck behind that Red Bull as the sister Red Bull continues to pull away with the lead. 2.5 seconds to the advance now as you reach the end of lap 2. There's still a long way to go in this race, because plenty of time for things to change. And I wonder, Pope, if we'll start to see potentially a bit more of a dry spell later on in the race. We can hope for that. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, obviously you hope for dry race because it shows you a lot more accurate pace, but one thing that the wet does give you is alternate strategies. A lot of different drivers will strategize differently. There is a chance that you could take these intermediate tyres if you're very, very good at nursing those tyres the entire way to the end. So we'll see if anyone tries that. Maybe some people who have had to make an early pit stop, but Nicholas trying to make a move against Grovey's fantastic battle here, very nice and clean. Is leaving just enough room, but someone who will be loving this is Landlord right behind, who is saving that ERS and ready to pounce if one of these two make a mistake.
He's got a perfect front row seat for this fantastic battle for second place, as do we here. Let's keep an eye on Nicholas when he goes for another go here. Going to look to the inside of the racetrack for the chicane and look to try and get in front this time. He can get clear, and he'll do just that. Then he should be nice and prepared for any attack that Grovey can make on the exit. She'll need a good run out of this next corner in order to have another go. Over the curb with a yellow flag, and that is one of the AlphaTauris around. That looks to be that's Che, who of course pitted on the end of the first lap and is now, I assume, facing the wrong way. He is, yes, and no wing on that car either.
Yeah, I think these drivers are really, really struggling here. Maybe the lack of formation that could have had an effect, but even so, I think it's just these wet conditions. The wet conditions are very, very hard to drive in, especially with how fast these cars do end up going. But one thing they do have is the practice from qualifying into the race, so they do know what the conditions feel like. But it's looking like Nicholas is pulling away here from Grovey. Grovey did her best to defend, but it's now 2.7 between Slazenger and Nicholas.
So the Ferrari's got some work to do in order to try and close up to the lead. And speaking of Ferrari, Imri's on his way up through the order here. He's up to P5 from his P8 starting spot. And Cotman started P11. He's managed to work his way back up after that grid penalty. He's the back where he should have been starting in P6. Unfortunately, for those of you who missed it, Cott spun on the main straight at the end of his qualifying lap, and Imri tapped him on the way past, and it gave Cott a penalty for some odd reason. But that's just F1 23 being F1 at 23, as we all know and love it. So Cott started down in P11. He's on his way back up through the hill now. He qualified in terms of time P6, so he's now back where he started. But he's still got some work to do here to try and close up to the rest of the pack. He's 1.3 seconds behind Imri now. Oh, Dan! Oh, that's not a nice crash.
Yeah, Dan is in a wall there. Oh, it's right in the middle of the track. I'm surprised there's no safety car there.
Che as well, yeah. Che in the pits.
And
I think.
both
Oh, no, is that the main
AlphaTauris
race?
gone.
No safety car, surprisingly. Yeah. 2 crashes at once,
Yeah.
and we stay green. Both AlphaTauris out.
The AlphaTauri is a bit of a stinky car this season, I won't lie, having to drive it twice. So I'm glad it's not just me who's struggling in that car. Obviously a shame for those two, obviously having to retire though. Nevertheless, having a look at who set fastest lap, it is Fan. And obviously with a new point structure, Fan does not get a fastest lap point for that. So Fan needs to climb his way back into the top 8 to claim another point for that fastest lap, which is a change that I do love. It stops people pitting late on, and it allows for some more competitive races, which we all love to see.
Definitely, and overall it allows for a closer Drivers' Championship as well. Of course, only 2 races and the gap is 7 points, which we like to see in terms of the race. In terms of that race for the championship, Nicholas will increase his lead in the standings by if I do my maths here, by 4 points to Landlord, who should move into second place unless Slashdot takes the win, in which case he'll move into second place potentially. It'll be close. Well, obviously we've got very smart people working behind the scenes to get these standings up for us. Obviously not live because we've got JB doing the standings. We've got he's in the race right now, and we never know in that respect. But me and Pope, we do our best with our mental calculators, just trying to figure out who goes where. But the points, obviously, not as important at this stage of the season. Of course, right now we're just sort of settling back into racing each other. And, of course, we'll see where the points are sort of around Silverstone time. So about halfway down the season, and we'll see who our contenders are for the title. It should be a very fantastic race indeed.
Oh, I do love Silverstone. It's a fantastic track, and if I do get a chance, I would love to race there again. It's fantastic. But yeah, obviously looking at JB, P11, so recovery after that first lap spin, and really putting some pressure on this McLaren. Fantastic exit. Will he be able to make a move into 12? He does. What a move there down the inside there by JB. Fantastic.
Great move there from
so we'll see if he can
Aston Martin, yeah.
defend that. Yeah, Aston Martin looking a bit nippy here in these wet conditions, and look how close that leading pack is.
Very
You can
tight.
see a proper little train going here. This is fantastic. This will make it very interesting when the pit stop phase comes around.
Definitely, we'll be expecting that probably around like what, 10, 15 laps around that sort of window? 6 laps around lap 16
Yeah.
20?
Yeah, 16 I'd probably say for the wet tyres. Oh, you see Emery going a bit wide there, losing a bit of traction. Caught, maybe able to pounce on that.
He's using his overtake. I can see it there on his. Oh, sorry, he's using it briefly. Sorry, I forget the orange isn't overtake. But when it comes up green on the wheel. I'm still getting used to trying to run the streams without telemetry on my screen, if I'm honest. Regardless, Cock closing in. He goes to the inside of the racetrack, looked at the outside for a second, and then moved back underneath. Very close contact between the pair of them. Emery gets loose, and Cock comes over the place. So that's another point for him. That's 4 points right now.
Fantastic. Great recovery here by Car. And I do love the racing where it's tyre rubbing. It is a lot of good fun. One thing I will notice is, obviously in the dry conditions, you know when the driver is on less than 10% ERS by that red flashing light. It's obviously different here in wet conditions because you have that red flashing light constantly. So it's something that a driver doesn't really have advantage for. So something to pay attention there. One thing I have noticed is Grovey dropping quite a bit back from Nicholas. So Grovey is going to want to close that gap up to help her teammate and really push on the fight for Red Bull Racing, who could make real inroads here in the constructor standings. And obviously points few and far between this season with a new point change, so even though it's still not important to see where people are in the standings, it's always important to get those points.
Definitely points mean prize at the end of the day, and Nicholas is looking for 2 more points if he can close up to Slashdot enough. He's got himself within that 1 second range now. He's really on the move in that Ferrari, and it's not hard to see why he's the championship leader from these first 2 races. That's to keep an eye on here, but of course it has been a very close pack in these first couple rounds. The Red Bulls and Ferraris have really been going at it. In particular, Grovey took on the might of the Scuderia herself in the last race. Slashdot was back fighting with I believe with BJ and with Grumio and Landlord. There was quite a large scrap over the pack throughout the course of that Grand Prix. But yeah, it was great. It was great fun. I'm sorry I know you probably didn't have as much fun during last Monday's race, but that's because you weren't here with me and Daniel enjoying the absolute carnage and chaos that we have in Jeddah. Of course, Dan did a fantastic job in the comments box as well, so hats off to him. Unfortunately, he's been out of the race this early on. I'm thinking we probably won't see him for an interview the way we did to you because there's no safety car.
Yeah, that is true. And I'm very vocal. I'm very vocal bunny. So I do like to utilise any chance for an interview. I like the sound of my own voice.
Don't we all know? I know you watch back these streams 10 times before you go to bed, just to make sure you can still hear yourself when you go to bed.
20 times I'll have you know. 20 times.
You know what? That's 20 more views for me, so I'm not complaining at all. Just make sure you watch the whole thing on loop, just because I need those watch hours. You know what I mean?
I respect it now. I respect the hustle.
Fair play. Nicholas then still closing the gap to Slashdot. He's brought it down to within half a second now. He's built 2.5 seconds on Grovey. Of course, 6 or 7 laps ago, those two are fighting for that second spot. But now Grovey's got a mirrors full of one Landlord in her rear view mirrors, and Nicholas now right on the tail of that Red Bull. This is vintage 2022 Verstappen Leclerc style action here as we begin what could be another fantastic battle for first place in the RDL as we continue on towards Sector 3. If Schlesinger can hold up Nicholas and keep him at bay for long enough, could that allow Grovey and Landor back into the fight? What do you reckon, Bob?
Oh, 100%. I think that's what they kind of need to do now here at the Red Bull team. I feel like it's a point of race of, okay, and we know Nicholas is very, very fast. We know he's probably faster. Schlesinger having a little bit of a wobble there. Needs to deploy all that ERS to stay in front, but this is a real good chance to help the Red Bull team and bring those two back into it. Very, very close between these two. Yeah, obviously, movement across the tracks, trying to defend as much as possible, but you can already see that time starting to climb down a little bit, so Schlesinger really needs to defend as much as possible here.
And he's doing just that right now. Of course, Nicholas very nearly had him at turn 1, but chose to play it smart, backed out a bit. And you can see that gap starting to fall down just a little bit. Grovey's starting to make some inroads into chasing down the two leaders, with Landor saying hook to the back of a Red Bull as we continue on to lap 9 of this Grand Prix. But yeah, still 20 laps left to go in this one, so plenty of time for things to change. And plenty of time for it to catch back up too, but Nicholas has got in terms of his race, he's using his battery. He hasn't got a lot of it left, but he's going for it out now to the outside and looking for the race lead, and he'll take the race lead away from Schlesinger. But if he can try and stick with him, Slides, in the Red Bull, then perhaps we may still have a race on our hands. We'll have to see if he can stay close, but it looks like Nicholas is already blasted away, and he's half a second clear already, Pope, after just a corner or so. But Grovey's getting about 3/10 out of that. Need a bit more in order to try and get into the fight for the lead.
Yeah, something I'm trying to pay attention. I'm trying to understand Nicholas's setup here. I believe that obviously we know a lot less downforce on that car, so it's really powerful in the straights. And at this moment in time, obviously the tyres are very warmed and they've probably got a nice temperature to them, so downforce doesn't really make too much of a difference. But I feel like when the pit stop phase does arrive, I feel like Schlesinger will have that advantage once again. So something to pay attention to on Nicholas's few laps on those intermediate tyres.
I should definitely keep an eye out for it over the course of the rest of the Grand Prix. Cott still sits there in P5. He's holding Imri at bay for P6 right now. And behind them, Webbsy in P7 and Shane in P8, looking to try and bring home Mercedes' first points of the season. Of course, the Silver Arrows, one of 3 teams yet to score this season. Aston Martin, Alpine, and Mercedes yet to register a championship point in season 16. As of right now, Alpine's closest best bet is sitting 2 seconds back from Shane in P9. That's PJ Callaghan, who's on the chase, looking to try and close the gap. But has that penalty to worry about as well. Of course, got that a couple of laps ago. We'll be trying to avoid thinking about that and just focusing on closing down on Shane.
Yeah, I see one of the McLarens in the pits. Oh, BJ having front wing damage. Did get passed by Goblin a few laps ago, so BJ is going to be really, really out the running here. So he needs to carry on, keep the head down, and just try and push as much as possible. You never know what can happen here in RDL.
Never know. Of course, I'm still surprised we didn't see a safety car for the simultaneous retirement of both AlphaTauris, but we continue on because the game is the game. Grovey is still 1.9 back from Schlesinger right now, who's about 5-6 cents back from Nicholas, who hasn't been able to pull away as much as we thought he would, if I'm being entirely honest. But to be honest, I thought once he got past Schlesinger, he'd be throwing caution to the wind, and he'd just be blasting away. But quite the opposite case here. I dare say Grovey's getting away from Landor as well. Landor's about a second back from the Red Bull as it stands, so looks like Grovey's putting the car behind her out of focus and just focusing on reaching the two in front of her. And she's doing that right now. She's posting another 10th or 2.
Exactly, so Grovey's just keeping a nice pace, but really trying to break away from Landlord. But what Schlesinger's done is just kept with Nicholas. It's the most important thing. Obviously, with you in the wet conditions, it's very good to have a driver in front of you punching that hole. Obviously, don't have to make your way through the rain yourself, so it does help being behind the car. But obviously, don't be behind it too long because your tyres will overheat, your engine will overheat, meaning less top speed and stuff like that. There's a lot of factors that you do have to weigh up.
Definitely, of course, we're keeping our eye out for those within the drivers themselves over the course of the race. Still plenty of time for things to change, and I'll keep on saying that. It's lap 11 at this point. 18 more laps when they cross the line next. Nicholas 8/10 to the good right now. Grovey I think is falling back as well. Landor is starting to reel her back in again. Cot 5 about 4 seconds back. Of course, he was quite fast, I'm told, in practice. Qualifying, he had the pace to be up there as well. Of course, the incident later on didn't help his case. I think it'll probably be cursing this game for for what he gave to him, if I'm completely honest. Shane currently still holding on to last points place, and I dare say pulling away from PJ now. So perhaps PJ banking on a safety car or something to try and get himself back up the order. But I think everyone's too spaced out for that right now.
Yeah, there's not that much movement going on currently, so obviously the biggest gainer right now is that of Cot5, who has done a fantastic recovery job to get back into P5, one place where I believe he would say he should have qualified, which was P6. And biggest loser, Fan, obviously getting caught up in a couple incidents, and it's just something that the championship, the reigning champion, would not really have liked to have in their third race this season. But nevertheless, he's still got, I think, 20 more races to go. It's a very long season.
Plenty of time then for things to change for these guys. Slazenger still keeping pace with Nicholas here. He's keeping that gap consistent to about 7 or 8 tenths. But Groby's just not getting as much kick out of those intermediates as she was about 3 or 4 laps ago. Really falling away from her teammate and from Nicholas as a result. But Landor now was reeling her in. Now not so much. He's still about a second back at this point. But just keep an eye on everyone here, because everyone's quite spread out. The closest fight right now is still Imrie chasing Cot for P5, looking for those extra points to try and push Ferrari's bid a little bit more in the Constructors' Championship. Because Imrie, as we said earlier, in qualifying just the 1 point from so far this season. He's got he'll have 3 more right now if he can finish the race here. But of course, with Cot5 right in front of him, he'll be looking to try and push himself ever closer to try and force him into a mistake of some kind.
Yeah, something that is obviously, I think, happened is the plateauing of the tyres. I think everyone's kind of just got into a routine, which you do need to have in these wet conditions. So I feel that's why it's kind of made the race a little bit stagnant, but nonetheless, anything can happen. And like we were saying just under 10 laps ago, I think the pit window, if anyone will be pitting, will be coming up around lap 16 and 17. And someone that is a known tyre whisperer is that person P7 in the Haas. Obviously, Haas had a couple of race wins last season, most notably season 15 Monaco, which I won.
Stop
in the
it!
Haas. So
why did you come back?
Really, oh, you had to do it. You had to do it, but obviously just making a slight mistake there by Websy, but nonetheless, someone who's so good at keeping those tyres for a long time. It'd be interesting to see if Websy does pit or try and sticks it out.
Have to wait and see what the plan is for last season's runner-up in the championship. 1.7 tenths back from the fighting Imrie and Cot. Imrie he's there, but he just can't seem to find a way around Cot. I think he's using his overtake a bit more often than Imrie is, if I'm completely honest. I'm just looking at sort of the wheel here, keeping an eye out. I see him both sort of flickering with the button as they go down the straight. But Imrie just can't find the opportunity he needs. He needs to repounce on any mistakes that Cot makes, but he hasn't really made any so far.
Exactly. It's quite hard at this point, like I say, when the tyres have like plateaued in a way, and you've done all you really can, and then all of a sudden you're just stuck in the same route of, I have to follow this car. It's going to be completely on strategy now.
I'd see, of course, we said earlier about the alternate strategy, or several alternate strategies that could be employed in a race such as this. We'll have to see sort of when the pit window opens for everyone and who goes longer on their intermediates. So of course, we'll have to keep an eye out as well for should anyone go on to, I know it seems ludicrous at this point, but a set of dry tyres, because then we may get some idea if the track will be starting to dry later on in the race.
Yeah, I'm trying to use my big old ears to get the satellite things and see if there's any dry weather on the way, but it does look like it's going to be constantly spitting, as the British term would be, spitting everybody inside. It is spitting. Obviously, these drivers don't really care about that. They just want to plow through the rain, and it's honestly a testament to the bravery of just keeping the foot to the floor through these high-speed corners. At the end of the day, they are still going upwards of near 180 miles an hour, so it's ridiculous how fast these cars are going in such tricky conditions.
Definitely. We'll allow Pope to keep doing his Dumbo impression and using his big ears for weather. And we'll continue on with the racing here, because we are nearing the halfway mark of this Grand Prix. Nicholas has put that lead out to 1.2 seconds now. Slazenger perhaps falling away a bit too. I think, as you say, Pope, the plateauing of the tyres has not helped the case of the lead. Yellow flag in Sector 2. It looks like that is JB. No, that's not JB. That's Lucky Lambert, who's got no wing. No front wing on that car.
I'm ashamed that everything was going a little bit smoothly, and obviously Lucky being the unfortunate one to maybe have a little bit of an incident and lose a front wing. So it's a long way back to the pits, especially with no front wing in these conditions. You'd be very hard to get through these corners.
And on a circuit like this, I dare say he's going to hold up BJ an awful lot here to go through the chicane. BJ's going to try and charge away as quick as he can. He pulls to the right-hand side of the racetrack and gets around Lucky Lambert nice and easy. McLaren's in P11 and P14. That first lap really cost them, Pope. I'm thinking, short of a safety car, we won't see many points from them today.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right on that. Obviously, you've got this is something that I mentioned is it's very, very hard for these drivers to get back in a race, especially on this circuit in this weather condition. But nonetheless, you never know, and you should never give up. So that's the one thing I would pledge to these drivers. But it shows that even if you carry on going, like you say, a safety car later on, like last week, can really shake up a race. So don't let it get to their heads too much. And it's something that I think you'll see quite a lot throughout the season, especially on the tracks which have quite a treacherous lap one. I think obviously Monaco will be quite a big one. Even that of Silverstone, Spa. Obviously, you don't want to lose the race on lap one. It's not something that we like to see.
Definitely a crucial part of every Grand Prix. That first corner means a big deal to a lot of drivers. As I see Lucky rejoining the track in front of Slazenger there. That was very close. That could have been a lot worse, if I'm honest. But Lucky managed to get the way in time there. He sort of slotted back onto the racetrack just between the two leaders. So they have to be careful there, but they've managed to get away with it nice and easy. Slazenger then, now 1.3 seconds back from Nicholas. And we probably are nearing that pit window now, Pope.
This is what I was going to say. I don't think Slazenger lost too much time with that close encounter with Lucky, but it'd be interesting to see if Lucky can keep up the pace with these two, or even past these two, and then we'll know whether it's best to pit onto new tyres or whatnot. So something that to keep an eye on. It does look like Lucky is keeping very, very good pace. He's looking to be faster than Slazenger right now. So I think you are right. I think the pit window is going to be open right about now.
I think Slazenger may get the message behind him that Lucky is obviously a bit faster than I think it has to be said, at least at this point in the race. So I reckon Nicholas will probably get that message too. So these two will be looking at their first stops of the Grand Prix either on this lap or perhaps the next. We'll have to wait and see who will bite the bullet first and come into the pit lane. Nicholas stays out. Slazenger stays out. So we're going to go another lap. What does Groby do? Groby stays out. Lando stays. Okay, so in general we're going another lap here before making any stops. I see Websty's closed up to Imrie there in the hunt for P6. Imrie's fallen away from Cotto, about 2 seconds separating them, and Websty's starting to close that gap down. So Imrie has had a relatively quiet race so far, save for just sort of chasing down Cotto. But honestly, I think given how the first two races went from, I think he probably prefers it that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think obviously you don't want too much pressure going on. I think I've just noticed the rain has stopped.
Has it? Oh, there we go. Yes, it has. Yes. So
my Dumbo ears have
they've
come
worked.
into clutch here.
Oh,
and the
Imrie
rain
loose.
has stopped.
Sorry, I tried to cut you off there, Pope. Imrie's made a mistake going through turn 5, and Websy could try and pick up on that, didn't get close enough. But yeah, I didn't notice that the rain has stopped completely here, so that will be so. If we get another lap or two, we could be seeing perhaps I'm not sure whether soft or whether I'm assuming mediums will be the tyre of choice here for the most of these guys. But could we see anyone try and go later on and pit onto soft tyres?
I think that's what I would do personally. I think rain stopped. The track is still looking very, very damp to me. So I think we've got another 3, maybe even 4 laps of the wet weather running. Maybe if you could push it to 5 laps. If you can push it to 5 laps, I think you have to go onto the softs. There'll only be like 6 laps on them with very low fuel load, so it'll be interesting to see. Plus, the track. Oh, I just been on board with PJ, and PJ's seeming to stay over on the water side of the track a little bit. So maybe these tyres are overheating a bit. Something to keep an eye on from the leaders.
And speaking of Alpines, I see Ethan, the other Alpine, now on set of medium tyres. Perhaps it might be a bit too soon, though. He looks to be struggling. I dare say it'll be a moment or two before the leaders catch him. You see Nicholas there. I just saw him at the top part of my screen, closing the gap very quickly to Ethan now. So that's a blue flag, should no doubt be in effect for the Alpine to get out of the way, and then just simply Nicholas can continue his assault on this Grand Prix. And Slazenger would still be wanting to close in on Nicholas. He's 1.5 seconds back, and Grovian was 4 seconds behind a teammate now, with Landor still giving chase. Yeah,
something to keep in mind on that. And so for Slazenger, this is crucial part of the Grand Prix. It's all a bit like Martin Brundle. This is crucial corners for the Grand Prix. No, this is crucial time for the Grand Prix because Slasher can really take a lead here if he gets the pit right. Obviously, Nicholas can pit straight away, but then Slasher has to do the opposite. You cannot stay in the same loop. You have to do the opposite.
Yellow flags out. And so that's just Ethan going slow here to allow everyone through. The blue flags are in effect. Everyone gets through nice and clean. And I imagine he'll probably let Cock go on the main straight. Sliding over to the right side of the racetrack there. But I dare say you might be right. What happened with was it PJ said, sorry, said was going off into the wet side of the circuit because the tyres potentially are overheating in these conditions.
It's something that really does get overlooked, especially in the game, but you do have to make sure these tyres are in the right temperature window because they just do not work, especially if they're cold. But overheating as well, it's a very dangerous thing. You don't have that much traction anyway, as you can see Nicholas sliding a little bit there through turn 4 and 5, but yellow flag in sector 1. I believe that's just again. Yeah, fantastic there by Ethan, obviously. It's a shame to be lapped, but obviously really good to do it successfully. I didn't even realise, Ethan was on the medium tyres. That's completely
I just said it's like
gone over my head. Sometimes it just happens, mate. I'll just blank.
Yeah, alright. Carry on. Sorry.
But so obviously, I'm trying to see what the pace is compared to his wet lap times. Going through thingy, it's not even this is sector split. 8 seconds down, so we are still quite a way off from these soft tyres, or dry tyres, should I say, working.
I think I have to agree with you, to be honest. But if we were to go, say, until sort of around lap sort of 25-ish, and the track then being dry enough for those tyres, would you pit or would you perhaps try and go to the end of the inters?
I feel like we've had a race not too long ago like that. I believe it was Imola. Imola always throws up mixed conditions for some
yellow flag.
reason. Webster's retired, and this will undoubtedly bring out a no safety car.
What is happening?
No safety car.
He's crashing in the middle of the main straight. And we keep on going.
No safety car.
No formation lap and no safety car. What's been going on?
I'm not too sure. I would imagine that would have been a safety car, and I think a lot of the drivers would have gotten ready to go there. You see, Slazzer just lost so much time to Nicholas. Nicholas, I think, has with a dry setup compared to Slazzer, so there'll be a lot of changes in that Red Bull garage when the pit stop window is thingy. But going back to your question about would I pit, I probably would. I always make the gamble onto the softs, but I remember in Imola, I think maybe 2 seasons ago, very similar situation.
Yes, I do. Actually, no. I say 2 seasons ago. I don't remember that because I was not. Well, no, I was here for that. I'm forgetting which Grand Prix I was here from, which ones I was not. Anyway, we'll continue pushing on here. We've reached the last 10 laps of this Grand Prix. Nicholas, as expected, stays out. Will Slasher stay out as well? He does stay out. Grovy's still 3.4 seconds back. I think we're going to go at least another lap or so. Still waiting for that dry line to sort of form. You can see it start to develop a bit, if I'm honest. You can definitely see it going on.
Indeed. Have a look at Grove's lap time. Only 1.5 tenths down from her previous best. So still the intermediate tyres looking very good. But obviously these tyres are now 21 laps old. So probably be absolutely steaming if they were on fresh set of intermediate tyres. I don't know if this is going to dry up now. It's looking drier. But there's still a lot of wet patches. I'm intrigued now for the last few laps. I'm glad it's dried up.
Same here. I mean, wet races are fun, but wet to dry races are even more fun, I think, if you ask me. Especially in the late stages of the Grand Prix when it's sort of changed and you're on the crossover between the two sort of tyre compounds. Nicholas, though, probably isn't worrying too much. He's got 4 seconds now on his second place car, Slazenger, 4.3. As Grovey starts to close the gap a bit, she's brought it down to within 3 seconds. We could see a late change here. If pit stops come into play and Slazenger can't keep the pace up, do you think he may potentially turn around and give Grovey an opportunity to try and close up?
I think there's a chance. There's obviously a chance, but I think it's just so dangerous when you've got Landlord just right behind Grovey, less than a second behind. I think it'd be a bit too risky to make that decision.
I think he's been there hunting her relentlessly for the entire race. He hasn't been able to go for a move since the opening laps. Nicholas sets the fastest lap once again. The track is definitely drying, so you can tell because these fastest laps keep dropping like flies over and over, but it's still just not dry enough just yet. Yellow flag, sector 1. I believe that was just lucky letting some cars through. Yellow flag now, a car in the gravel there. I think I saw a car in the gravel. I could be wrong. I think it might be one of the Alpines. Imri in the pit lane, onto medium tyres. Big gamble for Ferrari.
Yeah, this could be a typical Ferrari decision, or it could be a masterclass. Rare for the Scuderia team, but
DRS
it's seeming like a masterclass. DRS enabled, that's no indication of it looking very well, but obviously those tyres are very cold to begin with and skinning off through the grass. That's not going to be very nice to these fresh pairs of rubber. So,
PJ on top.
so a lot of spray, but
Number of changes.
it's very crucial to see now. Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers will now be pitting for slick tyres as soon as you see that DRS enabled side. It's kind of ready to go for slicks, but I'd probably hold it out maybe another 1 or 2 laps.
Keep an eye here. JB is up to P9 here, so he's not too far away from the points paying places. And I imagine that obviously the cars in front of him will come into the pit lane. So he could, after the race he's had, he could still get his hands on Aston Martin's first points of the season. You never know.
Yeah, it'd be really good.
Oh, yellow
for
flag. Who is that? Sorry,
We'll be lucky.
oh, sorry, I'll keep seeing things. Nicholas is in. As Slicenser is joining him. So what's that?
That's a risky decision, that.
They're all coming in.
Really risky decision. Double start. I just wouldn't. I really wouldn't.
No holding up.
I think Nicholas, great decision, but obviously, yeah, Red Bull making that into near perfection. That's fantastic, but I don't know. This is really risky from the rest of the grid. No one's really going to change that many positions. I think Landlord though has.
Grovy's lost 2 spots.
Grovy's. I think if I was Grovy, I would have stayed out just to avoid that incident. And obviously, it's a shame looking in hindsight, but we know she's got the pace. She can pull this back, but this is going to be a very tooth and nail for the end of this race. Very excited.
Slicenser needs to get the lead out here on those soft tyres to close down that 4-second advantage. He's got 7 laps to do it. I can see it happening. The track definitely looking a lot drier now. You can definitely see it, Pope. There's not particularly a dry line, but you can definitely see certain patches of the track where it's still a tad bit wet and bits where it's still a tad bit dry. So it's all still to play for. And I dare say Slicenser's getting right to work, and he's already starting to close that gap down.
Yeah, really good by Schlesinger. Really good opening lap. We can really call it for this race. It's the first time we're going to see the drivers really go full blast around this Albert Park circuit. So interested to see who would have been fastest in the dry, but Nicholas still
If he can hold on to this lead for the next 6 laps and hold off Schlesinger, who will no doubt be closing in quite quickly. We'll keep an eye on this Red Bull as he chases down the Ferrari in front. Landau's now sitting there in 3rd place. Of course, gained a place in the pit stops. Cott's gained a place as well. Grovy's lost out. I dare say Cott's will start to close the gap on Landau. He's remarkably quick in the dry, is that Alfa Romeo. Lucky Lambert's out. I think he's retired in the pit lane, I want to say. Yes.
Yeah, I do believe he is retired in the pits, which is a shame, obviously, but just doesn't see himself really coming back into this race. But nevertheless, we still have 13 drivers who have really pushed through the weather, because it has been really tough for these drivers. So well done to them all. But got 7 laps remaining now. See what Nicholas could do. PJ now setting the fastest lap, 123.7. Great lap there by PJ. P9 as well. So if he can get up by 1 more point, he gets 2 points because of the fastest lap.
Definitely, yeah. It should be close end to the racer, because he's closing there. Of course, so he's got that 6 seconds to worry about. So of course we can't be calling points for him just yet. Yellow flag. It's still lucky just retiring from pulling the car over. Schlesinger isn't really gaining as much as I thought he was, if I'm honest.
There's times, I think this is still showing down to the setup. I think Schlesinger really gains in the corners, but just on the straights just loses all that time back again. So there's no real win here for Schlesinger. As Nicholas has a fantastic lap time of 122.299. Fantastic lap there.
And these are the times you're sort of expecting in qualifying. Cotnas has the fast lap for himself, 129.9. He's got DRS closing the gap on Landlord here, so we could be in for a bit of a fight for the last spot on the podium. Keep an eye on Cott here. DRS deployed as he comes down towards turn 3. He won't catch Landlord this time. But when we go through towards turn 10, we could be in for a very different story indeed. Groby 2.6 back. It looks like P5 for her today. Imrie will look to try and close that gap, but should the softs fall away, because he's the one car in the points right now on medium tyres.
Yeah, obviously pitting a little bit earlier than the rest, but obviously will make it really. Excuse me, my throat's drying up. That's went to the end and he can't make a move against Landlord. Obviously, it's going to be a game of cat and mouse between these two, who will carry the DRS going into the final lap. I can see that happening, but we know how fast Cott is, so I can't wait to see these two battle. Real two hard races here.
And Nicholas's pace continues as well. He's now pulled that gap to 5 seconds. He's gained a second in these dry conditions. He's got 4 more laps to go. Short's mistake is on for his 3rd win in 3. As he makes his way off the last corner to begin at lap 26. Another fastest lap from him. He's gained about 8 tenths on the previous fastest lap. Slazenger comes through in 2nd. Cott is looking to pull away, but isn't quite doing it yet. Landlord is keeping with him. Looks like Cott sort of going back and forth on the ERS. And if these guys keep fighting each other, potentially we could see Groby come back into the mix. He's got quite a bit of time to close down, so these two would need to go side by side for a bit. As Courtney Goblin gets hit with a penalty there, it's 3 seconds for multiple warnings. So the closest.
Obviously, having a look at all this up front, something I have noticed is Fan, out of nowhere, could score a point in this race. Rule Fan out early on for a points position, but fastest lap now, closing down JB. Obviously, we'll get JB on penalties, obviously depending on stewards appealing, etc, etc, but really good recovery here by one of the McLarens.
Of course, BJ in P11, which is still respectable. 3 retirements, and he could be in the money too, but of course that'd be unlikely at this stage of the race, I think, because everyone was trying to bring it home safely to the end. Cott is still holding off Landlord right now, as those guys race for the last spot on the rostrum. Landlord is right there waiting for any sort of opportunity he can take, but I think Cott might just have him at this point. But as I've been saying all day, plenty of time for things to change.
Yeah, they never say never on this track. Look at the lap times, just dropping and dropping and dropping. We'll see who takes the fastest lap at the end of the race. See Cott moving towards the middle of the track, trying to break that toe from Landlord, but the team that's leading the Constructors' Championship will probably not be leading the Constructors' Championship, will definitely not be leading the Constructors' Championship by the end of tonight, but will be interesting to see where they can come back to. Forgive me, I forget where the next race is.
Imola. Wait, no, not
Imola.
Baku, Azerbaijan.
Baku, Azerbaijan.
Very different
One
circuits.
of my worst tracks, but yeah, be interested to see what the drivers could do around there and see if Williams can make a comeback and fight for that Constructors' Championship once again.
Well, I have to keep an eye out, but for the minute it's still P3. The fight is on for these guys. Landlord closing the gap will go to the outside of the racetrack, going in towards the chicane at turn number 9. In he goes and retakes P3, but another DRS zone here, and Cott bit loose on exit of turn 10. And that could put him in a bit of trouble here. He won't close this time. No DRS for him because he didn't have it into the detection zone, which was at the entry, I think, to the first zone. So nothing at that point. But we'll get it this time round. You have to be very good down this main straight. Look at that. Nicholas, 7 seconds now in the lead. 1 minute, fit 19.5. The laps just keep getting... He's improved 8 tenths on that lap. The pace that Nicholas has exhibited today, it's been nothing short of unbelievable. And he's on course, as I keep saying, for win number 3.
Yeah, it's been fantastic by Nicholas. A team that really does get unfortunate luck here in RDL, which is Ferrari, really showing up and showing what that Scuderia can do. It's really nice to see.
JB and Fan here racing for the last spot on offer. JB, of course, will want to try and finish in P8 on the track. But Fan will be looking to try and fight it as well, knowing he'll get it regardless. And PJ will be looking to try and get around JB as well if he can. These guys were fighting for pride here, because that last point is going to Fan. I think we all know at this point. But anything JB can try and muster from the reigning champion, I'm sure he'd definitely enjoy it. Imrie gets a penalty there for multiple warnings. It won't impact him. He's next car behind him is 22 seconds back. Shane is on course to get P7 here. So Mercedes' first 2 points of the season as Cott retakes Landau for P3. And Nicholas is on his way into turn number 11. Just over a lap to go.
I think obviously this race really belongs to 2 drivers, which is Nicholas and Cott. One for incredible pace and one for a fantastic recovery. But Shane shows some pace sometimes, and what a way to do it, and what a way to avoiding any more mistakes or any mistakes in the rest of this race. We've got 2 points for Mercedes, 2 points that team really needs.
So Nicholas then starts the 29th and final lap of this Australian Grand Prix. Fan taking JB now for P8 on track as they go through the turn 9-10 chicane. I think that'll probably be the end of the matter there. Fan looking to pull away with the last point as JB looks to come short in this one. Short of mistake from the cars in front. I think that would just be the highest he can go for. But it's been a very close fought race today, through the wet and through the dry. But Nicholas has pulled almost the same gap again in the dry that he did in the wet, and he's half a lap away from victory.
Yeah, really comfortable here by Nicholas, and just shows the cream of the crop. Someone who was fantastic in qualifying last season, but obviously was great in the race, but didn't show the qualifying pace in the race consistently. Has shown consistently 3 out of 3. Will he be able to make it 4 out of 4 in Baku? Only time will tell. I'm very excited for Baku. Baku always is exciting. That castle section will show who can keep it clean.
I think Sargent's got a problem of some kind here, because Lanneron's caught him here. Keep an eye on those guys. Nicholas, though, comes into the last corner. It's 3 for 3 for Ryan Nicholas, who rounds off turn 14 and wins the Australian Grand Prix. Win number 3 of season 16. Slazenger looks like he'll narrowly come to the line in second place. Not Hamilton on the last lap. Some sort of mistake, but he comes home 8.2 seconds behind our winner. Landon home in third. Cott takes fourth. Grovey runs to the line in fifth. Caught out in the last stages by those pit stops. Emery towards the line for P6. Shane will be on his way through for 7th place. Fan 3 seconds back from him. I doubt he can catch him, but that'll be the end of it for those guys. I think JB got another late penalty, and Fan's got one now too. Fan has a penalty. It shouldn't impact the cars behind. The cars behind both have 6. I'm sorry, PJ's got 12 now, but that will settle things. Fan will take the last point. Shane home for P7. Fan home for P8. JB 9th, and PJ rounds with your top 10. And your winner, Ryan Nicholas, for a 3rd time this season in 3 races. He is a genuine title challenger, Pope.
Oh, 100%. I think that's 30 points, over 30 points now for...
Sorry, I mean cut with there, Pope.
Very, not common, I should say. Not common at all for a driver to take 3 races on the bout in league racing, especially league racing of this caliber. Only very few can do it. I have done it, not here but in other leagues. But it's a thing that you should be very, very proud of.
Definitely, because I haven't done it myself. I've never so much as won a race in league racing, but that'll change one day. Hopefully, people are watching the Creator Series streams on Saturdays when I start doing those later on in the week. But Nicholas then, for a 3rd time this season, takes the checkered flag and wins here down under, and it could be a continued dominance for a little while here, Pope, because he's been on top these first couple rounds. No, in terms of raw pace, no one's been able to touch him, and we could be in for a fantastic season should potentially he slip up or other drivers go and catch him.
Yeah, I think that's the great way to describe it. It's just raw pace. It's very consistent as well. I mean, no penalties as well. That's something to keep an eye out of. Really pushing the car to its limits, but making sure you don't go just that little bit over, which is something that a lot of people do struggle with. So very well done to Nicholas.
In terms of the rest of your results, then Cot 5 comes up in 4th place, then Grovey 5th, Imrie in 6th, Shane 7th, and Fan nabbing the final point on offer. JB and PJ follow him home in P9 and P10. BJ finishes 11th, 1 lap down. Courtney and Ethan also a lap down themselves. Lucky Lambert, Websy, and then both AlphaTauri, Daniel Aaron and Che both failing to finish the race here today. So that was your Grand Prix, and we'll look now into post-race interviews. I see no reason why we won't see Nicholas with us once again. And we'll see if we can get anyone else in this week for an interview. So see if we can continue your work experience, Pope, in the comment box with the interviews.
Oh dear.
I'm gonna keep referring to that because I just think it's a laugh, to be honest. But again, number of things to talk about in terms, because of course the lack of formation lap, of course the lack of safety cars several times in the Grand Prix. Really not sure what happened tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those. Obviously, hiccups happen every so often, so it's something to move on from. But we just once again shows the issue with the game more than anything.
I can definitely never be sponsored by EA because, well, at least not in the state the game's in now, because I find too, because we discuss a lot of problems with the game on stream, if I'm honest. So
I think, yeah, well, I think it's criticism is the best form of constructiveness. I think you find issues with the game, you fix them. You're a big enough company to do that.
Fair enough, yeah. Personally, I wish they'd take the NASCAR license back, because they used to make good NASCAR games back in the day.
I don't even remember, mate, to be honest. I just remember NASCAR Heat. I enjoyed that one, actually.
Yeah, more
So
and
he
more
was good.
recent stuff. I mean, I race have the license now, so that'll be fantastic for them. I'm looking forward to that next year. Well,
I just wish I had a computer for iRacing, to be quite frank.
It's alright. It's not what it's cracked up to be, if I'm honest. Oh, we have an arrival here in the commentary box. Who is that? That'll be Slazenger, who comes home in P2. We'll get to him now since he's the only one in here. Slazenger, you want to unmute for us, mate? Can you hear us?
Hello. Sorry, what did you say? Sorry, my bad, I couldn't hear.
That's alright. Just ask you to unmute is all. But you're here with us now. Yeah. So that was a quite crazy race there. P2.
So, honestly, I found it a bit disappointing, to be honest, due to a mistake with the setup. After seeing it was going to be rain for the race, I thought to myself, oh, everyone's going to run high wings. So I decided to put 42, 38 wings, while everyone else was running high 20s. So it was pretty obvious in the race. I was losing tenths and tenths and tenths in the straight. So yeah, impossible to do anything in the race, but fair play to Nicholas. He performed unreal today.
Definitely, yeah. Of course, pushing on back to the start of the Grand Prix. Of course, we had a lack of formation lap today, which we were unsure as to why. Of course, we weren't looking at that too much. But did that catch you off guard at all? Because you had a fantastic getaway from the lights.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, obviously we're all used to doing a formation lap, and I thought to myself, hold on a minute, this doesn't sound right. And then I honestly forced myself to pick up the revs and get a decent start, but I feel like everyone struggled at the beginning and everyone was caught off guard, so luckily I kind of reacted a bit faster than everyone else, I assume.
Fair enough. Of course, there was a number of opportunities for safety cars today, which we also didn't see, which is probably to the game being the game. Do you reckon a safety car would have thrown a spanner into the works for you today?
Honestly, like, I was hoping for a safety car in a way, obviously, because I was seeing Nicholas just fly, and I was hoping for a safety car and hopefully sticking his DRS, but there was no chance for an overtake. I was way too slow on the straight, so yeah, there was no chance for me to get back in.
Fair enough, and of course the dry period towards the end of the Grand Prix. Did you feel like you could have been quicker then, or was that all you could give in the last few laps?
Honestly, the last few laps, the gap to Nicholas was just too massive, and I had 2 warnings when the dry came, so I just thought to myself, right, just keep it clean, don't get any warnings, and stay ahead of the lads behind, because they were flying coming towards me, so I thought to myself, yeah, just keep it clean and bring it home, E2. It's pretty decent, so I'll take it.
Yeah, so still good points on the board, and I believe that moves you in front of Grumio in the championship, so I think you'll be in either P3 or P2, depending. I think, wait, Pope, did Lando get caught for third? He did, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Okay, so yeah, so that'll be close there, but I think we'll find out later in the week. In terms of next week's race, then, last question for you. Of course, Azerbaijan coming up next. Of course, it's a street circuit. Of course, very similar to Las Vegas from last season. Of course, we took that win last time around. Do you reckon we'll see another chance of a victory for you this week or next week? Sorry.
Honestly, I don't think so. I struggle so hard on the first half of the calendar, especially, like, I don't know, I'm looking at the calendar now actually, and yeah, Baku and even the next few tracks, Miami along with Imola, Monaco, Pope's best track anyway.
No, don't you start as well.
Yeah, no, I don't I don't see myself winning the next few races, or I mean having a chance to win, to be honest, so yeah, never mind Baku.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully still the race goes well for you, perhaps get some more points on the board. But yeah, good race today. Congratulations on the podium finish, and perhaps we'll see you back in here soon.
Cheers, lads. Cheers, appreciate it. Well done, Nicholas. Fair play. Quality pace.
I need to unmute. Thank you.
Well, that saves me asking you to do it. Nicholas, then well done on the race victory. Third one of the season. What's going on? Because the pace has been, at least race pace at least, has been unmatched so far this season. Can anyone stop you? It's a simple question.
Yeah, Well, I was surprised by the race pace as well because I was not sure because of the rain. I only trained like 3-5 laps in time trial for this one because I got some other problems. Yeah, the setup was fine, to be honest. I just remembered what I did in another league, and where you put the wing gap lower instead of higher, because if you keep the wing gap lower between front and rear wing, you get aerodynamic stability and that shit. Anyways,
Language.
yeah, quali was very difficult. I literally forgot to take my fuel out for the last laps I did. Like, I've gone in and forgot to put the fuel down, so yeah, that was not good. So I bottled maybe pole even, but those two Red Bulls in quali were unstoppable. Really, they were very quick. Fair play to them. In the race, of course, Grovey did a mega job on that start. Absolutely, defending brilliantly, no contact, whatever. From my side, of course, even if there was a bit scratching wheels, but that's really it. That is really it, and yeah. After I got to Schlesinger, it was really easy because I used so much lower wings than him to get that advantage if it dries up. It didn't dry up, so it was more of a sliding race than a race I drive with the wheels. So yeah, and in the end when it dried up, it was just waiting till the finish line came. So yeah, it was sounds weird, but it was very close.
Yeah, it's definitely an insane race to watch, at least from our perspective. One thing I did want to ask you about, of course, there were, I believe it was Dan who crashed midway through qualifying on the main straight as you were coming through the last corner for one of your
I shit
attempts.
myself. I shit myself.
Did it? Oh, because on my screen he despawned just in time. Was that the case?
Yes,
as well?
I was hitting his wheel and he despawned. So I nearly got front wing damage, or might even DNF. So I got lucky many times today. So yeah, without the safety cars, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You got lucky in that respect. But the fact that from what you're telling me, you had the balls to sort of just to almost drive at him and hope he despawned is fair play to you. I think Pope will agree with me, if I'm honest. Pope, you anything to say?
Yeah, no, I just remember pooing myself, to be quite frank, when I saw it, but you know. It was a close call, but just glad everyone was safe and stuff.
Yeah, you know,
And
the problem
doing
is.
anything.
Yeah, the problem is in the rain, if you do erratic steering, you spin, and the chance that he despawned was higher than me ending the qualifying in the wall.
Yeah, good point.
Okay.
So you know.
Alright, yeah, fair enough. Last question for you then. Of course, Azerbaijan next week, very different circuit to the first three we've been to. But is there still another win in the cards? Is this going to be an easy romp to the championship, do you reckon?
As it looks right now, the pace is very, very good. Well, if some say unstoppable, but I say I just drive my race and see how it goes on, because in qualifying you see I'm really not a good qualifier. I need to work on that, but race pace is there. So Azerbaijan, of course, difficult track, because same as the tire wear here in Australia, I had a difference between 10% between front and rear, so I don't know what I did there. Yeah, it's really tricky to drive. Let's say it like that. The grip is very low. The mistakes have to be 0, otherwise you end up in the wall. It's like Monaco.
Makes sense. Right, so yeah, so congratulations though on the win, and perhaps we'll see you back in here next week. Oh yes, that was Max Verstappen. Sorry, that was Ryan Nicholas for the post-race interview. The race winner, once again, 30 points from the opening for 3 rounds, and perhaps we'll see that championship fight continue on. So that'll conclude post-race interview. Sergeant Nicholas, thank you guys for showing up, and thank you guys for giving us such a good fight, because that was very entertaining to watch on track today. So thank you to both.
Cheers, lads. See you next week.
Cheers.
And that will more or less cap us off here for tonight's action. Pope, anything more to say?
No, I just think very well done. As I said in the Discord, it's very much a marathon, not a sprint, that race. Obviously, wet to dry, it poses a lot of questions, and those who even just finished the race should be very proud of themselves, because it's not an easy thing to do.
Without doubt. So that'll more or less do it for us here tonight on the Zach RC channel with the third round of the championship here in Australia. We're back with you next week on the 29th of January for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, round 4 of the season at the Baku City Circuit. I've been Zach RC. He's been Touch Me Pope. Until next week, we shall see you next time. Have a good week and goodbye.